You are listening to the Taylor Road Baptist Church Pastors Podcast. We are so excited to have you join with us today. Please make sure that you go and subscribe to our channel so you can get a notification every time we post a new podcast.
Hey,
welcome to the Pastors Podcast.
Yep, welcome.
Yeah,
We're back.
Tag team intro.
Yeah,
I like that.
Back again. Hey, again, thank y'all for listening. And any feedback that you guys, we were just talking a minute ago before we started recording. I think we had not recorded yet, but any feedback that you guys have that are listening to us that maybe something you'd like us to talk about, or you've got questions, or anything that you think would be good content for this podcast, we'd love to hear from you. You can contact Hunter. His email address is hunter@taylorroad.org.
Yep.
And
Lonnie knows my number. So.
Lonnie, he's the only one that's listening that we know of. No.
Yeah, shout out to our number one fan.
Yeah, he gets perks. We might let him pull his mask down for a few minutes during church. That'll be his platinum membership perk.
A few gulps of fresh air.
That's right. Anyway, so want to just start this morning, and something we had talked about last week is we go through this, just kind of walking through slowly the Beatitudes. And this morning, the first one, and this is something that I reference in our midweek Bible study. So if you watch that tomorrow evening, you'll kind of see this picture of Jesus being the greater Moses, right? So Moses goes up on the mountain 40 days, 40 nights, and then descends from the mountain with the law, right? So this is how God's people live in relationship with him. Well, Matthew, when he's writing his gospel, he's just really kind of telling the story of Moses again, but through the lens of the greater Moses, Jesus. So Jesus crosses through the waters, goes into the wilderness for 40 days and 40 nights, right? Just like Moses was on the mountain. And then Jesus appears on this hillside or a mountain with the law of God's kingdom. So it's this really cool fulfillment of God saying, this is what life in my kingdom, the kingdom of God. And so the first one, Jesus starts with, blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. And that right there is, it really doesn't make a lot of sense to our 21st century ears.
Especially Jesus. I mean, this is like his first time really teaching in public that we have recorded. And the first thing out of his mouth is, happy are the poor in spirit.
He launches into that. That's
okay. It's kind of anticlimactic.
Which is funny because, when you think about this, is kind of like an inauguration. Like he is starting his ministry, and we're in an election year, and in January, whoever wins the election is going to have a inauguration speech. Mm-hmm. And I guarantee you, poor in spirit is not going to come out of their mouth. And I'm listen, don't send hate mail. But I don't know that blessed or poor in spirit will ever come out of President Trump's mouth or Joe Biden. There's no politician that's going to say, hey, I got a great idea for our kingdom or our nation. Let's be poor in spirit. But what does that mean? What does it mean to be poor in spirit? I'm going to put everybody on the spot. That's No, I think what Jesus is saying there is those who are spiritually bankrupt, which would have identified with all of these people that are listening to Jesus, farmers, fishermen, poor people, who kind of felt like they had been kept on the outside of God's kingdom by the Pharisees because they didn't perform. They weren't religious enough. And now this man who's claiming to be God's Messiah says, well, actually, you're welcomed into God's kingdom, and you're going to be happy if you're in this place of spiritual bankruptcy where you have nothing to offer God and you have nothing nor no hope but God, which I think is really relevant to this season right now, where for me especially, I can't speak for everybody, but I've realized my own spiritual bankruptcy. You can get by on a lot of talent or knowing the answers and all that, but this has really brought me personally, this season of quarantine and exile has really brought me to a place of, man, I'm empty. And that's a good place to be, though.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think anyone on earth would be like 2020 has been like a cakewalk. Like I feel like everyone can like share that like 2020 has brought some hard times. I mean, we're going to be talking about VBS in a second and just how we're forced to adapt that. And nothing about this has been easy. You know, it's kind of like a perfect storm that we have like this. It started off with a virus, then
Kobe died.
Kobe.
That was the first.
That's how it
Kobe.
started.
Yeah. I remember sitting in a tree stand hearing that. I'm like, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
What?
But yeah, like I definitely don't think you're alone in saying that this has been a time of like, for me at least, self-reflection.
Yeah.
And just has not been a cakewalk for anyone.
Well, you know, and I think about this poor in spirit bankruptcy in this season. My own reflection, you know, it reminds me of the story of Jacob in the Old Testament. And Jacob was slick. I mean, obviously he was a deceiver, and I'm not saying I've been deceiving people or lying to people, but if you read Jacob's story, he got by charisma, and he was slick. Man, that guy was slick. And then he gets wrestled in the middle of the night, and his hip gets broken. And, you know, he finally has to look at the angel of the Lord and say, I give up, right? I'm tapping out. And I feel like that's kind of been me in the last 4 months. I've had to come to a couple places in my life where I've said, okay, God, you got me in a chokehold. Like,
Figure four leg
I
lock.
surrender. Yeah, I surrender. And I think that's kind of where just speaking for pastors, I mean, I talk to pastors on a daily and weekly basis, and not one of them that's at least being honest has not said, man, this is the most difficult time I've ever. It's like a heavyweight bout. You know, you get knocked down, then you feel like you're getting up, and then here comes something else. You know, sucker punch.
Yeah.
For sure.
What else do you guys reflections on poor in spirit?
No, I think you guys are. I mean, you're obviously hitting it on the head. That's something that we're missing, and you know, I like to work out. You guys know that, and so I think about this in terms of like building muscle, growing. You have to tear a muscle down and feed it the right nutrients, the right amino acids to get it to regrow, to rebuild stronger than it was before we broke it down. And that's, I feel like some of us maybe, and I put myself in this boat. We thought we spiritually had it all figured out. We were good, and I would see that sometimes like, oh, I'm good. I'm on the mountaintop. You know, I'm there with God, and we just stop growing. We stop that, and sometimes God needs to bankrupt us. And through this time, I've felt that, you know. But it's been good. It's a good process to go to remind ourselves that, or to remind myself, maybe I'm speaking here, that I need God, that I do need to be spiritually broken, and that is the place to be. That's when I'm most blessed, when I recognize I'm not doing this on my own, but I need God for that.
That's the pruning, you know, Jesus talks about in John 15. And Jesus says that the only reason that pruning happens is so that the Father will see more fruit grow.
Yeah.
And you think about pruning, it's painful, it hurts, you know, it's you know, not a fun process. But the only reason the Father, the vine dresser, does it is for more fruit. And so you're right. I mean, you get to a place where you think you're producing fruit because you're busy.
Right.
You got a lot going on. And the Father, the vine dresser, has to go, no, that's just busyness. That's not fruit.
Oh, yeah.
And
That's so true. And that's something we've talked about so many times over the last few weeks. We had so many events on the calendar, and we were so busy as a church, busy in ministry that, you know, maybe we never took a step back to say, is that really producing fruit, or are we just busy?
Yeah.
So,
well,
And it definitely has been it's like I said, it's been a time. I think I said last week, it's helped like people think on their feet and kind of compromise. And we actually have Miss Stephanie with us here today.
That's right.
And
that's
if
the time.
and if anyone's like had to adapt during this, it's her with children's ministry, and we're just wanting to hear a bit of that today and just hear how. I guess what's been going on in children's ministry. We can talk about definitely the hot button topic is VBS. So I guess tell us a bit about that and how this year has differed from others.
Well, so a week before the shutdown happened in Alabama, we had a associational VBS training, and we were all ready to get going. And then a week later that happened. So kind of had to wait and see what happened.
Feels like forever ago.
It does, like in a whole nother world.
I can remember like being like awestruck by like this photo booth y'all had, and we're like,
Yeah.
we're gonna
Yes,
get this, and it's gonna be
yes.
awesome.
Yeah, now
Yeah.
And then
it's pointless.
yeah,
Yeah,
no
it is
kidding.
pointless.
I'm glad we didn't bite the bullet on
Yep.
that.
I think
The
it
little
was.
ring.
I think it was
Yeah.
funny though. Sunday, Stephanie was like, it was like a kid on Christmas morning because we had kids at church.
church.
Like we've had a few come,
There
but
were
then we had more.
9 at
Yeah,
8:30.
Yeah, 9 in the 8:30 service, and it was like, it was amazing.
Children.
But it's almost like you remember the joy of ministry.
Yeah.
Like,
And
this
they
is why.
don't, and they're little, and so some of them were kind of like, hey.
Can we say that though at this juncture? Parents, please don't let that be a hindrance to coming
Yeah.
back. I mean,
No.
I understand some kids,
Sure.
you know, are
Look.
like babies and small ones, but if
And
you're-
it's not easy, but we've had several 3-year-olds come.
yeah,
We have to take them out some, and that's okay. You can bring back in.
and we're
I've
ready
got-
for that.
Yeah, and activity packs, try and keep them busy.
I had
Don't
one.
be afraid.
I had
Let
one
'em
couple
play.
say they were sorry, you know, because their kids got a little loud there for a second, and I was like, no, it almost brought tears to my eyes when I heard your kid while I was preaching, because it's
Yeah.
like, man, there's
There's
life
children.
again.
Yeah.
Like it's so, gosh, it's just like a family reunion every
Yes.
Sunday.
It was exciting.
Sorry,
to
I
see
didn't mean to
kids.
steal
No,
that.
that's okay. No, because I did feel.
But Bible school, yeah, I mean that was
So Bible school, we batted around several options. Felt like everyone was kind of over virtual. I know that's really popular, and I know it's families that don't feel comfortable. They probably feel a little questioning why we're not. But Clint had a great idea. We'll talk about that in a minute, so that we can include those families. But what we finally came up with, we had to be really creative this year, and every church is having to be creative. So there are 5 days of VBS, and there are 5 Sundays in August this year. So we are going to do VBS every Sunday night in August. So day 1 will be week 1, and on you go. And that's kind of how we've decided to do that. We've shortened it a little bit. The main things will still be the main things, but a lot of the fluff is having to be taken away.
yeah.
And I mean, I know the fluff kind of makes VBS, but that's just for this year. So we're still getting to do it. But that's how we've decided to handle VBS.
Yeah, and that's VBS is the number one evangelistic outreach
Yes.
for the Southern Baptist churches, and
And that just, to me, I think to all of us, it just wasn't an option to not do it in some way.
No. Well, and that's, again, for just a minute, let's talk about, for those that may not have watched the video
yeah.
or be in the loop on this, the safety protocol.
Yes. It
and,
is
and we
very
should probably
important to
start
us.
with the caveat that Montgomery Public Schools,
As of right now.
and I know, and we talked about this in the office, you may say, well, Pike Road's going back. We're not in Pike Road.
Yeah, we're in
You know,
Montgomery.
private schools are going back. I understand that, but the decision, the factor is, you know, Montgomery Public Schools and what the superintendent will announce and all that stuff. So if they pull the plug on schools, chances are highly likely that we'll have to pull the plug
Right.
on this as well.
Because what made us feel comfortable enough to try this was that our reasoning was, if schools are starting back, then we feel comfortable doing this also. But that did mean, to be safe and to be secure and to make sure parents felt comfortable, we had to cap it off. And so we've capped it off at 50, which is sad to me. But at the same time, if we want 50 to come, the parents have to feel comfortable
Yes.
with what we're doing. So we have thought long and hard about how we will keep your children safe. And so we've got lots of plans in place for that. Taking temperatures, asking questions, making sure the class size is small. We're not even going to be in classrooms. We're going to be at tables so that we can social distance. And just that'll cut down on disinfecting, because we'll be, spread out in a room. Only moving around to a few places as opposed to lots of rotations. So not the typical VBS, but
It's something.
it's something. And
It's a COVID VBS.
it is it's VBS reconstructed, and so that's just, I think the kids are not really going to care that it's not like it's been before, because life has not been normal, and it will be some sense of normalcy, I think. My children came with me a couple weeks ago to the office, and as we were coming to the fellowship hall, we were getting ready for the ice cream social, and as we walked through, and like Catherine said, "Oh, I miss coming to church," and I said, "I know," and Laura Grace said, "I miss Sunday school," and I said, "I know we all do," and so children, that's the first time they've really said that to us. And it was them being around the church, walking around, not just in my office, not just in the preschool, but like being around in different parts of the church. They were looking and noticing, man, I miss seeing this on a normal, consistent basis. So I think that all the kids will be just really kind of happy to be back and get to see each other. The night we had the ice cream social, we were outside and we were social distancing. And Christy was there, your wife, so she probably told you this. Those kids ran around and played with each other for 30 minutes or more. I mean, but we were outside. They weren't in each other's faces. But, I mean, I'm talking preschoolers up to some of them 4th grade. And they were all playing together because they haven't seen, I mean, they may have seen a few people here and there, but they were all just enjoying being together.
And I don't think we understand the impact of that.
The kids,
I mean,
yeah.
even in adults.
Well, sure,
I
yeah.
know you mentioned my wife. She and our kids went to spend a few hours with another mom and kids yesterday. And the husband texted me last night, and he said, I saw an emotional burden lifting off my wife just from being around somebody.
Person.
And I was like, man, that's a huge. And so I think the kids need it. I mean, if adults need it, my goodness, kids definitely need
that was
it.
eye-opening to me that night, just to kind of watch them. It was sad to me too, you know, because I think that's one of the things that we loved about Taylor Road, or we do love, is that it's changed so much. We loved it. But that we're still small enough that all of the kids enjoy each other and they all know who each other are.
Yeah.
And just to see them together, like, that's church, you know? And so that was, it was kind of sad, but sweet too. Yeah.
So families, we need you to sign up.
Yes. You're only going to be able to register online.
Yeah. And we are getting closer to that 50 mark.
We're
And
getting close.
We might stretch it a little bit for members, you know, of our church.
It just depends on where the numbers look like, and we feel safe about that.
But I've been here now 4 years and 7 months.
Wow.
And it didn't take me but 3 weeks to realize Taylor Road people
don't get in a rush.
Don't rush for a whole lot, except for the doors when I say amen at the end of the service. But we
need you to go.
We
sign
need
up.
you to not wait till September or August the 1st.
No,
September is too late, man.
As excited as I am to have VBS, that will make
is.
me very grumpy.
Yeah.
So
please don't make Stephanie grumpy.
No,
You won't like her when she's grumpy.
No, ask Josh.
Hey.
So
You've already burned your house down during quarantine, and inside joke. Sorry.
Sliced my feet away. But no, you do need to register. And if you are a TRBC member and you are working or serving or teaching or you are helping in VBS in any way and you have children, you need to register them as well.
Yeah. And I had to make sure before we recorded that my kids were signed up for this. So
They
that
are.
would be hypocritical for telling
And mine
people.
are too. So, yes.
Well,
And of course, at the time of this recording, things may change by the time you hear it.
That's Tuesday.
Make sure you visit the website, taylorroad.org, for the most updated information.
Yes.
That's absolutely. Well, I'm excited about it. And again, y'all families, again, sign up. But also, my rule for every mission trip we go on is be flexible. So
It might change.
It might change. I hope it doesn't. But
as of right now,
the world we live in is it's weird and unpredictable. And so we're just going to keep being poor in spirit and and being happy and blessed. So thank y'all for listening, and we look forward to talking with you again next week. Hey, if you got any questions about VBS, Stephanie@TaylorRoad.org. If you have any comments or anything you would like us to talk about, Hunter@TaylorRoad.org. And if you have complaints, that would be Clint@TaylorRoad.org. No.
Yeah, they go straight to spam.
That's all. Okay. All right. Well, church, we love you. We will see y'all. Well, we'll see you when we see you.
Again, thank you so much for joining with us today. Please make sure that you go and subscribe to our channel so you can get those notifications. If you'd like to know more about Taylor Road Baptist Church, we're at taylorroad.org, and we are located at 1685 Taylor Road, Montgomery, Alabama 36117.